Bitcoin double spend detected? Has the impenetrable crypto been hacked? Hi everybody, this is Brandon with Crypto Trades and Tech, and so I wanted to just take a quick moment here to cover this news that you've probably seen circulating around. Is this a serious issue for Bitcoin, or is this maybe some FUD and somebody's trying to steal your Bitcoin? Let's dig in. So let's scroll down here and see what this article from Crypto Vibes has to say. It says the latest report, January 20th, state of BitMEX Research has identified a possible double spend transaction. As you know, this would be a huge problem for Bitcoin. The transaction was valued at 62,000 Satoshis, or roughly $21 around this time. And it seems, does not seem to be an instance of the popular replaced by fee wallet hack, quote unquote hack. Now, BitMEX did come out and say that they had noticed this activity, and it appeared to be a double spend of around $21. All right, so that would be a problem. And then the article goes on to say, an hour later, the researcher attributed the orphan block to an RBF transaction, which is, RBF stands for replace by fee. So replace by fee. And it says here, in such an incident, an unconfirmed transaction is replaced by a new transfer that pays a higher fee. Nonetheless, Fort Monitors updated saying that no RBF bumps have been detected. All right, then some random Twitter user says this should cause significant alarm. It appears a double spend has occurred, not a replace by fee, a mere $22. So how could this happen? As we see here, since 2009, the Nakamoto white paper has been credited with having found an impenetrable solution to the double spend problem. Well, first, let's discuss what a replace by fee is. And I'm just going to do it here on the Bitcoin chart as it's coming into. By the way, Bitcoin is sold off perfectly into this key support trend line. We'll talk more about that later. Looks interesting that it's come right into that trend line. But anyway, let's doodle on this this chart for you here. I'm going to try to find some white space. All right, I got a clean chart of Bitcoin. All right, so as you guys know, there are blocks. They are chained together to form the blockchain. If you don't know, I'll put a link to my Bitcoin white paper video here, which explains how this all works. But within a single block, we have transactions. So we have inputs. So you have wallets that are sending money, and then you have outputs, which is unspent transaction output. So every block records a set of inputs, which is transactions, and a set of outputs, which is unspent transaction outputs. So within a single block, we could have wallet A send funds to wallet B. But it's also possible for wallet A to decide that those same funds he would rather send to wallet C. So if A were to decide that he'd rather send his funds from, instead of to B, to C, what he can do, or he can attempt to do, this is available in some wallets, it's not available everywhere, but what he can attempt to do is replace that transaction within this block before this block gets mined, and he can simply basically transfer slightly less to the same, or to a different wallet address rather. And what that does is it leaves more money. So the way transactions work, let's break this down real fast. So if I have one Bitcoin, right, and I want to send a half a Bitcoin to somebody else, 0.5 Bitcoin. What I actually do, so I've redrawn this to make it's easier to see. So I have one Bitcoin to spend. I want to send a half of a Bitcoin to somebody. What I actually do is send 0.04999, say 5, whatever. And then the leftover, whatever is left in that transaction is actually kept for the miners. That's the miners' reward. So the larger amount left over I leave in a transaction, the higher the priority of that transaction, and the more likely it's going to be selected out of the mempool to be put into the block. Now, something to keep in mind. Before a block is mined, it's all sitting in something that's temporary called the mempool. So starting fresh here, so potential transactions are sitting in this very temporary mempool, and then as the miner who validates that block, when he finds the combination of things that he needs to find to solve the mathematical problem, he then takes all this information that's in the mempool, he pulls out what he feels is valid transactions, and he puts those into a block. Okay, and then the next miner cryptographically links from that block to the new block. So when that miner finds the mathematical algorithm necessary to he solves the problem. Let's just leave it at that. When he solves that problem, he again pulls out of the mempool and puts those transactions into the block. Now, the network is constantly validating that these blocks are valid. And so within the mempool, if you have, this is not a complete block, right? Within the mempool, you can have double spent transactions. You can have all kinds of problems. This is why on the Bitcoin network, we wait for multiple transactions. It's normally 3 blocks before your transaction is considered valid. And why is that? Because problems like the FUD that are being circulated today are actually fairly common on the network. This happens all the time. Stuff like this happens, but it gets resolved. So this was actually seen in an orphan, what's called now an orphan block. So basically, what happens is, let's say this green isn't the orphan block. So say 2 miners pulled from their mempool these multiple potential transactions, and whoever now we've got a fork in the network. So there's 2 different potential blocks with 2 different potential transactions. And so the block that gets the miner that's cryptographically linked to the prior block that mines first, this is the winning chain, and this chain gets cut off. So when the network realizes that this chain a miner has validated this block faster than a miner would have validated on this block, this chain gets cut off, and all of the participating nodes in the network simply kill this chain off, and then we continue on with this chain. So by the 3rd transaction, we're pretty certain now that this is a good, valid chain. So this is going to be the winning chain. Make that green. And then the chain simply gets cut off, and the participating nodes simply remove that from their blockchain. All right, so with all that background, just know that anybody can, in theory, submit multiple transactions, and they can be double spent transactions. They can be all kinds of problematic transactions. We can submit multiple transactions into the network, and that sits in the mempool, but only valid transactions are going to be pulled out of the mempool, and then the network's going to figure out which transactions are valid as time goes on. So let's go through some more articles here. We have more FUD articles, Bitcoin double spin spotted in the wild. Again, they reference this BitMEX tweet. And, oh, scary. Oh, this is a mere $22 US, but it could have been 22 million. Whoa, scary. All right, so back to what I was saying. So BitMEX Research followed up. For anyone interested, here are the details we have for the transaction in question. The winning transaction, the block is here. And then there's a losing, conflicting transaction and a stale block. Oh, look at this. BitMEX goes on to say, oh, on closer inspection, this is likely to be an instance of replace by fee. But in this is a weird one in that the lower fee transaction won. Well, that's the risk you take, right? So if you're going to try to do a replace by fee, which is not technically a capability supposedly available in the network, it's just something that can happen, right? So if you're going to attempt a replace by fee, the risk is that the network selects your first transaction over the transaction that you left with a higher miner reward. So this is what actually happened here. So looking at the details, BitMEX, as for yesterday's possible Bitcoin double spin, which was this resolved after 1 block? We have summarized the transaction below in the image. You can decide for yourselves what may have happened. So basically, what the takeaway here is that as this person here responding to the BitMEX tweet says, can you guys fix your link implying it wasn't an RBF? It's true it wasn't a simple RBF fee bump, but it was still an RBF, since changing outputs completely is still allowed and still acceptable in the network. So the long and the short of it is that this wasn't any abnormal, weird, actual double spend. This was multiple transactions sitting in a mempool, and then the network has to sort out, as it does time and time again, exactly what the winning transaction was going to be. And so whoever owned that wallet address, whoever submitted those transactions, and then wanted to change the transaction, apparently, and leave a higher mining fee, they simply... So I hope we cut through some of the FUD there for you guys. Total normal behavior on the Bitcoin network, not a big deal. Let's take a look at some technical levels just to see, is Bitcoin crashing? Is it going to crash? So I've been having this trend. I talked about this trend line a lot. This is a trend line I brought up in several past videos. This is the upper part of a channel that we've been watching that Bitcoin has been developing since it started to run in late October. If you recall, it was fighting with this channel here. As it came up, it actually we had a breakout back in April up to this range here. And as we came up into the $12,000 range, and then we sold off a little bit and consolidated further, when we broke out of that, after some consolidation, we started a very strong uptrend. We've been in that very, very strong, almost parabolic. Well, we got really parabolic right through here, obviously, as we broke the upside of that uptrend. Now, clearly, we're still in a very strong uptrend. I mean, what was this? Just barely over a month ago, 40 days ago, Bitcoin was trading at 17,000, and today everybody's losing their minds because it sold down to 30,800. Okay. Let's put some perspective on this, zoom out a little bit. We were just at 10,000 a few months ago. So some normal consolidation is actually healthy and wanted. There are many of us that wanted this. I'm happy to see this. I have zero qualms with what's going on with Bitcoin's price. This FUD, we've had a couple of FUD instances. Now, I did that funny, silly video yesterday. Just for those of you who are still watching, thank you so much for your support of the channel, by the way. And if you're still watching this, you're a trooper. But yesterday's little video that I put out, I was actually building some notes to talk about the Yellen, what her thoughts were around Bitcoin and the FUD around the fact that it's used for illicit activities and money laundering. And I wanted to start the video with a funny little, somebody laughing or something. And I as I was looking for clips to use, I was like, this is perfect. And this is so much better than me just talking about it. If I just it's just a few key points that make the point. And I thought it was a more fun way to get the message out and the message across to make a little silly video. So I hope nobody got offended by that. I hope you guys didn't. It's not something regular I'm going to do. I'm going to try to be more straight-laced but fun about our analysis here. But every once in a while we got to have a little fun. And sometimes levity is the best way to make light of some of these situations. So I felt that was the case yesterday. But as I've been saying, I think Bitcoin is totally healthy. I think this is really good, healthy consolidation. We've come back into that trend line. We're getting a little bit of a bounce here. Who knows what exactly is going to happen. We're always remember, Bitcoin can have a 30% sell-off at any time. And it did. Let's measure this sell-off here from peak. I'm on a daily. Yes. From peak, we had that was a 28%. Wasn't quite a 30% sell-off and a 26% sell-off. A 40% sell-off is in the cards, which would put us, look at that symmetry. That would come right down to this trend line right here. We have another trend line right here at 26,000. Now, I've talked a lot about my simple moving averages. Personally, I think the simple moving average that has the most relevance right now, we've become pretty far detached from the 120 and 200, which we normally watch. I would expect us to still make a touch of the 120 at some point, maybe in a couple months here. But given the moves that we've had, the consolidation we're seeing, I think the 50 is more relevant, which is coming in at about 27, 28,000. So coming down to the 50-day moving average is completely possible as well, which would put us right back into this kind of parabolic uptrend that we had. So again, not the end of the world if we came down into this, back into this channel and had some consolidation there. But for now, we're staying above the channel. We haven't fallen back into the channel. So we'll continue to monitor the price action. Looks like we're back up above 32 for the time being. I mean, I told everybody that would, listen to me that this is, Bitcoin was on sale. Jordan was saying it in the Conquer Trading, his live stream this morning. I agree. Bitcoin's on sale. Good time to lean in at this trend line right here, right now. But just beware the FUD that's going on out there. There's a lot of FUD right now. There's regulation FUD. And by the way, the regulation, they backed off on the KYC regulation as well. They said they're going to wait for the new administration. And I think they realized when they got a lot of pushback, the pushback even included names like Fidelity, that FinCEN regulation about KYC. And the big names, big players even like Fidelity came out and said this is a terrible idea. This is going to hamper innovation in the space. And it's going to be counterproductive to their goals on top of that. So that got pushed off, and I'll do another video here in a minute. Can Bitcoin be killed? I'm actually just going to do a couple back-to-back videos because I think people keep saying, oh, they're going to try to kill Bitcoin. We'll talk about that next. All right. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're a new channel. I appreciate all the support. Take care.